Hey everyone, I'm everyday Buddyfighter, and in this video we're going to go over Linkdragon Orders, which is another one of the main ace decks. So this first one's against DD Yankees, and honestly, the DD Yankees is like a 50-50 kind of thing, because they're actually very strong. And while Linkdragon Order is very gauge consistent, and manages to keep yourself a heavy hand, if they manage to get their field spell off first, you tend to kind of take it out. My opponent kind of takes a while to respond, so it's kind of annoying. But for the most part, what Linkdragon Order is focused on doing is that you call a bunch of them. They're all size ones, so you can call like 3 monsters in one item, and then they all share their abilities. The D ability, the Dragon ability, this is called Dragon Share apparently. So my opponent does here he calls Dowson's Finger, and then for the set spell. So if I destroy, I'll be forced to discard 2 cards, and then obviously at the beginning of my turn he's going to force me to discard a card with the set spell, because I guess that's kind of dumb. But so obviously I have discarded cards. I have too much gauge anyway, so I'm going to pay 1 gauge and get 2 cards back from my drop zone to my hand. So with Linkdragon Order, so Easton gives me extra gauge, which I think is pretty cool. So, but first I'm going to buddy call the double ability Lightning Axe Agato, and then G-Sen gives me 1 more gauge. So then what is very helpful though is in this instance the other one like you can pay a gauge with Takatsume's D, and you can pay a gauge to pop a card on the field when you attack. So obviously if you can attack 8 times, you can destroy pretty much everything on the field. So even though I'm discarding most of my cards in my hand, I don't really care, because I can just clean this game up pretty easy. But honestly, against DD Yankees, it's pretty much a toss-up. Next is against dual golems in this instance, but what is interesting to note is that he does play he does also have DD Yankees, and since for some reason it's just generic for Danger World, like I don't know, like I feel like this card is a little bit too good to have no cost. So he's just going to attack me for 4 crit with Dalmondo, and at the beginning of my turn he's going to force me to lose gauge, since honestly not dual golems, Linkdragon Orders are kind of gauge heavy, so they kind of need it. So they kind of need gauge to call Agato to really go off on their plays. So I'm gonna use up all my gauge to buddy call Agato. CD is one of those cards I think is really gross, because if you get out with Agato and you just have like another monster, like even if with just 1, you can get 16 life in 1 turn, which is really gross, even if your attacks don't go through. And if you manage to get into Spiral King Agato multiples, and then it's just kind of gross. Like you can gain a lot of life advantage in 1 turn, which kind of makes for your opponent coming back very difficult for you, since like obviously like if you have like 40 life and then it says like I'm gonna keep hitting you, it's like okay, well I still have cards in my hand and I still have gauge, so I can just do exactly the same thing I did over again. It's kind of gross. So he's gonna attack me for 8 crit, which I think is fine. Agato has Soul Guard, so it doesn't really mean anything to me. So I'm just going to charge and draw. He's going to either force me to lose gauge or to discard a card in my hand. I forgot which one. And yeah, he's going to force me to lose gauge, so then he gets 2 gauge. But the size 0 Sumasaki is a guard cat, or Flare Fang if you prefer. Also during my opponent's turn, it gives everything plus 3,000 defense, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna, walk over his dual golems. I'm just gonna keep hitting him, gain a bunch of life, because that's bounced. Then I have 22 life buffer, and I have a ton of cards in my hand, so honestly, even though I have no gauge, I feel pretty secure in what I have, and especially when I have a ton. I have 2 cards at null attacks, so it's all good. He's going to attack my card. I'm like, I don't really have any things in the drop I want to get rid of, so it's fine. Charge. He's going to force me to discard a card from my hand, so I'm just going to discard the Agatos I have, because I don't really need it. I'm gonna call G-Sen to get an extra gauge, and then use Head Linkdragon Order to at least get the size 0 and Agato back. So I'm gonna gauge and draw, and then call my buddy again. You hardly ever really need the King Agato, since honestly just calling a bunch of size 1s is enough to net you a win. So we're just gonna keep hitting him, and that's pretty much it. Really, I get a ton of life, so like I end with like close to 35. So, oh no. This is kind of how this last game is going to be up against Thunder Knights. But what this one's going to show is another thing you can do with D-Share is
you can actually exploit it to pop a lot of cards, since honestly it's not a very gauge heavy deck, so you can just call Agato or either of them and just sit on it, and you don't have to waste a lot of gauge. And Ancient World has enough cards to get you gauge, and so does this deck. The size 0 is the gauge and draw, and there are lots of spells in the deck that you can use to engage. Easton gives you 1 just for calling it, so you shouldn't have gauge problems unless you're playing against like DD Yankees or something. But that's how it is. So my opponent's just gonna, do the usual Thunder Knight stuff. He's gonna attack me for 2, and then I'm going to just wipe out his board, calling taps another one of the monsters with D-Share. I actually don't know what it's called. Actually, honestly, the Japanese names are just kind of hard to remember for me. Honestly, they're not as easy like Gargantua Dragon or Garcat. But what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna call Kisen, get a gauge, Tatsumaki twice, and then get 2 gauge and draw, and then Linkdragon Order hunting, 3 life, 3 draw. Completely fair, I guess. Gauge, 1 draw. See, there's no gauge problems in the deck. Another one. See, I called this monster 3 times for 3 gauge and 3 draws. Like, there's no gauge problems in this deck. Takatsume is the card that I want to show off in this replay. You pay a gauge every time you attack, and then you pop a card in your opponent's field. So with Lightning Agato, you get double attack, so you can pop up to 8 cards if you have 8 gauge. Obviously, you're never gonna really need that much, but it's useful against certain cards. Like right here, like his card has 12,000 defense, but it doesn't really matter because Agato is gonna attack another monster and just pop it with his D-Share. This doesn't work against like a Thor or Levitine. I've actually tried against Levitine and I got completely destroyed because he just re-equips his items from the drop zone. Like, it doesn't matter. So in that regard, it's not like the most solid thing, but it is a viable thing. So against certain decks, just not against cards like Prevent Destruction like a Thor, or cards that just instantly resustain themselves. But for the most part, against most decks, if you just keep popping their stuff, they'll fall behind since they have to pay a lot more gauge than you do. My opponent's not really going to have much to do after this, so the last ace deck that's going to be up is the Gargantua Dragon deck of the True Dragon Tribes. So I'm everyday Buddyfighter, and I will see you all later.